And now, yes, you've been wondering that mysterious, uplifting musical conclusion. Now we get to find out. As soon as I find my notes here. Yes. Over the years, qualified speaker Manuel Urrizola has probably won more district level speech contests than any other Toastmaster. I've especially enjoyed his humorous speeches, but today Manny will amaze you with his impromptu speaking ability and his knowledge of geography. Now, for his presentation, Manny requests your help. He wants you to help supply the names of 6 or 7 exotic countries you would like to visit. Well, if you have a country, you can't supply all 6 or 7, but 1 each. So if you have a country, raise your hand. And then when called upon, you can make sure you're unmuted to share a country, an exotic country you would like to visit. Yes, Jose Vizcarra.
Yes, Fiji Islands. To me, I read about them, but that's one place I want to go, the Fiji Islands.
Fiji Islands. Okay, we have one, Fiji. Maryland.
I want to go back to Spain.
Okay, Spain, okay. Rob, I understand Tom's helping me with the raised hands. Rob?
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. And Rochelle?
Uruguay.
Where?
Uruguay? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's cool.
Uruguay, okay.
Uruguay.
Okay, and maybe a couple more. Do I see any more hands raised? I'm checking my screen here. Oh, Marcia.
I want to go to Egypt.
Oh,
Egypt, okay.
And one more.
And one more. Do I see one more hand? Exotic location to visit.
That's Greg.
Greg Scott.
Oh.
Yes, New Zealand.
New Zealand, okay. Well, we have 6 locations: Fiji, Spain, Bangladesh, Uruguay, Egypt, and New Zealand. So Manny, take it away.
It's a small, small world. In this time of pandemic and confusion, and there's so much out there. But if you think about it, it's a small world after all. Let me take you on a whirlwind tour around the world. We'll take off for Europe. We'll go to Spain, España, Madrid, Barcelona, Sevilla, and of course, the Basque Country, where there's great food, great wine, and lots of sheep. I should know because many Basques are shepherds. My great uncles were shepherds, and they got to come to this country because they were shepherds, and the United States needed shepherds. And so they settled in Nevada and California. You see, it's a small world after all. Now we'll head from Europe to Africa. We'll go to the ancient kingdom of Egypt. The pyramids, the pharaohs, the Sphinx. Did you see on the TV the other day where the Cairo Museum, they built a new museum and they were moving a lot of those mummies and other artifacts to the new museum? Did you see that? It looked like the triumphal march from Aida. Oh, it was so beautiful. Now, Cleopatra, she was the queen of Egypt. She was the last of the Ptolemies. So we'll want to learn about her. And then the Rosetta Stone. Why was the Rosetta Stone so important? Because it had text in ancient hieroglyphics of Egypt, and then it had matching text in Greek, because Cleopatra was half Greek, a Ptolemy. And thus they were finally able to decipher all those Egypt Egyptian hieroglyphics because they knew Greek. They knew ancient Greek. You see, it's a small world after all. Well, we must leave Africa and head for Asia. Let's go to Bangladesh, one of my favorite countries. We'll visit Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh, where they speak Bengali, but most of the people are Muslim. India also has a region of Bengali where they are mostly Hindu. So the two countries are separate by religion. Now, Bangladesh, you may not know this, but how many people who doesn't remember September 11th? Well, you know the first nation to send us aid after September 11th? Bangladesh was the first nation to send aid to the US. So you see, it's a small world after all. Well, we'll leave Asia and cross the Pacific. First, we'll stop in New Zealand, in Wellington and Auckland. There's the North Island and the South Island. And you know they have their own Alps. In southern New Zealand, there's snow and Alps, along with the penguins and the other exotic animals. And New Zealand is part of the Australian, New Zealand, United States pact that goes back centuries. It's a small world after all. But we must keep crossing the Pacific. We'll stop in Fiji, in Suva, the capital of Fiji. And you know, Polynesia, Melanesia, Micronesia, all these different regions of the Pacific Islands. Melanesia, Mela means black, Nesia means islands, the dark islands. And then we have Micronesia, micro means tiny, the tiny islands. And then we have Polynesia, the many islands. And Fiji is right on the border of Melanesia and Polynesia. So we're in the heart of the South Pacific and halfway to the Americas. It's a small world after all. And we'll stop in South America before we get home, in Uruguay, Montevideo. Maybe we'll stop at that wonderful casino on the beach in the suburbs of Montevideo. Montevideo is surrounded by the ABC countries of South America: Argentina, Brazil, and Chile. And if we went a little further north, we would find the ABC islands of the Caribbean: Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. And if we come back to the United States, which we must do, well, we won't get to go to the ABC states because there's no state in the United States that starts with a B. And so you see, I think you'll agree with me. It's a small world after all. It's a small world after all. It's a small world after all. It's a small world.
Thank you, Manny. Is that not fascinating?
What a talent.
What a talent. What a wealth of knowledge to be able to just take whatever's thrown his way as far as the names of countries.